Welcome back to the Aussie Game podcast, where we talk all things Australian football. And what a massive weekend we have to cover. We've got some champions, we've got some absolute screamers, we've got derbies, we've got absolute drama all across all the games we've been covering. And here to help me go through all that is Mopper. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good mate. Welcome everyone. Exciting, isn't it? It's Aussies on the score sheet, and like you said, we are the champions. Or our mates are having a great time over there. We've got two winners to discuss tonight, so that's unbelievable outcomes, and super proud of what they've done and achieved. So let's get straight into it, buddy, with the big news.
Yeah, the big news is, of course, Kevin Muscat winning his second consecutive Chinese Super League title with Shanghai Port. They edged their rivals Shanghai Shenhua by 2 points. They actually needed that win that they got last night, beating Dalian Yingbo 1-0 to secure the title. So huge congratulations to Kevin Muscat. Of course, he's got a couple of other Australians on his staff over there. So yeah, a huge team effort there. And yeah, to go back to back, he's lost some players in the off season, some key players from their title defence. Was looking a bit shaky there towards the back end of the season, but a mix of good results from Shanghai Port and some of their rivals slipping up meant that they got the job done. So what an achievement.
Oh, mate, I remember a few weeks ago when we sat here and they lost that game, but then both their competitors did exactly the same on the same weekend, and they didn't take advantage of Shanghai's slip up. It was like, oh, I thought it was about to crumble, but it just all fell towards another victory, and in the end, in long term, and yeah, well, they were undeterred, weren't they? And yes, they seen it out in and had to wait, mind you, through an international week as well, plus Champions League in between that. So it would have been a long wait, but a well-deserved wait, and a super achievement that he's achieved. He's won titles in Australia, Japan, and now China. And the big question now is, Chief, what's next for Kevin Muscat?
Yeah, as you said, trophies across those three nations. I think that's five altogether across those three nations. So certainly shouldn't be any doubters of Kevin Muscat's credibility. And yeah, as you said, the big question is where he goes next. Or I don't imagine him staying in China for a third Chinese Super League season. No doubt there'll be plenty of clubs attracted to what he can do. So I would envisage him, now that Rangers job is gone, landing somewhere in the Championship, or is it beyond the realms of doubt that he could land in the Premier League, mate?
Yeah, it's a tough question, isn't it? Has he got enough credentials from their side of point of view? You know, Asia's looked modestly upon the Europeans, but obviously it's an achievement in itself. He would have gone to Rangers if the timing was right, but we all know he stayed for this moment. So he's got to be given credit for that, because that would have been a big decision, knowing that Rangers, a former club that he played for, wanted him, and he could have easily gone. But I think whether it was Rangers or himself, like looking at it, like what could he have really achieved with Rangers this year? They'll last in Europe, well off the pace in the league. It would have taken at least an 18-month to 2-year project. So I think I'm glad he skipped that Rangers part, and I definitely think top tier championship is not out of the question. There's been a lot of sackings in the championship and the Premier League this year, and around the globe, as there always seems to be in these European nations. You know, we've seen Juve sack theirs, but it's going to be very interesting to see, what level he can get interest from. What do you think's what's realistic? Do you think?
Yeah, I was just going to say that the last time he had a go at Europe, he was in Belgium, and it didn't end up so well for him. But I think, in that time, he's gone away and he's done the work, and I think he's a much better coach since his time there. So, look, I think the championship, that level, is realistic, and whether that is in England or whether he tries his hand at, say, the Netherlands, or an equivalent type league, probably that tier below the top five just at the moment, and probably more so. I don't doubt that he has the ability to do it. As you said, it's probably just more the view of many European countries and clubs about what what an Asian achievement means and what an Australian manager could do. So, and he's the good thing for Muscat is that he's gone to Japan and he's gone to China and he's proven that that language barrier isn't a problem. So, I think that's in his advantage to be able to go to a country, not necessarily an English speaking country, and be able to do that. But I think realistically, his next step is just below that top five league at the moment. But I think the challenging thing for him is that the Chinese Super League sits outside of the European calendar, so he's always going to have to either break his contract within the season for China, or he's going to have to take a job mid-season in Europe. So that's Ange faced the same, similar thing as well. So I think that's going to be the hard thing. He's probably going to have to go in say toward the end of this European season, but the club that he goes to are going to have to give him some time to give him the rest of this season, give him the chance to build in the off season, and then go again.
What do you think, even though it might be a stretch, that he might go international, not just club football? Because there's a lot of teams that have failed to make this World Cup and some prominent teams. Could that be on the cards in his thinking?
Possibly, I would think that if he's going to have a crack at a national team, the first one he would be Australia, and I'm not putting it out of the realms of possibility that he might be the next Socceroos coach. It might not be for a while, but it's possible that he's the next Socceroos coach. But I really think that given what happened last summer in Belgium, I think he's probably got a point to prove over in club football in Europe, and he's going to want to try and succeed there, I would think.
And yeah, there's always opportunity, isn't there? Like Middlesbrough just departed with Rob Edwards. He went to obviously Wolves. You obviously look at Cam Burgess. He left to go on international week, with the Socceroos camp, and he come back and there was no coach there. So these are clubs that possibly might look in that direction, even though I think Middlesbrough's looking at other options and probably Swansea as well.
I think that more so the Middlesbrough type situation where Rob Edwards is obviously left to go pursue another job as opposed to being sacked. Because to me, if the club is to a point of sacking a manager, either there's something wrong at the top in the club, or the team's not going well, and that new manager is going to have to come in and get something out of that. You look at Borough, whoever lands at that job, you got a decent squad. They're second in the league. That's the ideal situation to go into, as opposed to a championship club that are on the decline, or it's an owner that's a bit, you know, quick to pull the trigger on managers, and we saw what happened with Ange, for example. So I think, ideally it's a more of a Middlesbrough situation than a Swansea one. But what do you think, mate? What do you like? Where can he go, and what types of situations?
Yeah, look, championship would be tough, no doubt about it. But yeah, I reckon Holland and countries like that are probably fantastic breeding grounds, especially a lot of Premier League clubs look at Holland as well. So probably, I think Holland's a really good prospect. Again, though, you're waiting, which is like you said, the problem with the window. But look, he's won in Australia, Japan, and China, and really, that's it. It is. He's got a pedigree to go probably where he wants to, and I think he'll have a good choice. And I'm sure he won't rush it, and I think he's learned a lot of lessons, and not just in his path, but others. And let's hope he, finds the right club that's looking for that vision to move and progressively move forward without, like you said, finding clubs that are trigger happy. So, yeah, no, it's exciting, isn't it? Like he's going to obviously have a good break now, and let's see what happens because, geez, a week's a long time in football, mate. There's anything can, we're talking about look at Celtic and Rangers this year, both managers gone in Scotland, and you would have predicted that. But I think he's got high pedigree, and don't rule out even Saudi Arabia either. There's a lot of riches over there. We've seen a lot of big managers go there too. So and it's in Asia, so you never know. That could be his next step. Asia might be his continent.
Yeah, we look forward to seeing what happens with Muskie. But for the meantime, it's a huge congratulations to him and his coaching staff. He might even have a quick word with Ange, mate, to see if he can get any tips on managing in England before he heads over there potentially. There was
definitely.
one other big one in Asia with Mitch Duke. His Makita Zelvia winning the Emperor's Cup, beating Vissel Kobe 3-1. Duke played 65 minutes and picked up an assist. Yeah, so big win for Duke, getting that trophy in Japan, mate.
Oh, what an achievement! Yeah, it's fantastic this weekend. What a great achievement for Mitch Duke, and well played too. Getting an assist, he'll be on top of the world at the moment over there, getting some silverware, and yeah, that'll build some confidence for him, and obviously, hopefully, we'll watch his path the next few months.
Yeah, he's been in and out of the team a bit over the past couple of months, probably more out than in, and so it was pretty pleasing to see him start in that important game and then contribute as well. So interesting time for him. I've got a question for you about Mitch Duke a little bit later, mate, that we'll get to, but interesting time for him as well with that gap now between now and the World Cup if he has ambitions to go, which I'm sure he does.
Oh, big decisions now. Yeah, for some of these leagues, like we're seeing that with the women's football in Sweden as well, like finishing up, and obviously, yeah, they're in a bit of limbo. So where do you go for some match practice to stay sharp for these big events? And yeah, big decisions ahead. I look forward to that question.
All right, mate, let's go through our overseas wrap. Do you want to start, mate, in England in the championship?
Yeah, great to see some Aussies on the score sheet here. So we'll start with Blackburn, and Lewis Miller scores the opener with a powerful header from close range as Blackburn got their fourth win in five, beating Preston 2-1. Fantastic performance of Blackburn. Straight off the bat to Lewis Miller. They were the first game.
What an
Um,
achievement. What an,
oh,
like, because he played significant minutes with the Socceroos too.
Oh, absolutely. Like that's what I said straight off the bat. And we looked at the championship and who was the first game, and they were early, earlier Australian time, so wouldn't have had hardly any rest. I'd say, what is it, 10-hour flight too? And yeah, wow, great news for Lewis Miller and Blackburn. They're really firing after a slow start to the year. Not good news on the other side, though. Swansea, Cam Burgess, he got the captain's armband, which is great respect, and plays a full game, but his team, he's got thumped 3-0 by Bristol City. They were hot, Bristol City, and they'll hope the things change when their new coach arrives after three straight losses. It just seems to be going a bit south there for Swansea at the moment. Yeah, big changes obviously happening, and great to see him get recognised too, though, with the armband. We had an All-Australian affair in the Derby and Watford game, an All-Australian clash with Elders starting and playing a full game for Derby. But Irakunda had to wait, but he was back on the bench. But he got on early in the 35th minute and plays in a comeback 3-2 win against an informed Derby. And Irakunda won the penalty for Watford second. And then an interesting stat that you pointed out, 10 months since Watford's away win. 10 months. That's a long time for the amount of games the championship plays. Unbelievable. Anyway, well done to Irakunda, and unlucky there. He takes the spoils over Elder. And this is some exciting news. Superman Segacic is back for Portsmouth after we got some news during the week that the coach obviously said he was back to full fitness and straight into the starting lineup and gets a good hit out with 62 minutes. Hayden Matthews was on the bench, seeing no minutes, but they pick up a really important 3-1 win over Millwall. Obviously, we know Luongo's out for the season with Millwall, but great win for Portsmouth
You
and well
mentioned that,
done.
sorry, mate, sorry to cut you off. You
You're
mentioned
right.
that interview midweek. I encourage everyone to seek that out. It's with Segacic and our guy Simon Hill with Football 360. Really good interview, about 15 minutes or so, but some good insights from Segacic.
Absolutely. It was really good to see. He said he'd start in his junior career as a soccer and wants to see it all the way through. So that's great positive news, as we know there's been talk of allegiances there. We put that to bed pretty quick. Middlesbrough, Riley McGree and Sammy Silvera are on the bench, but Silvera was brought on in the 46th minute and McGree in the 62nd minute, but they couldn't affect the game too much. And they drew with a lowly Oxford 1-1, but steady the ship as Middlesbrough looking for a new coach and probably should hear overnight or during the week early about their new coach coming in. And obviously Middlesbrough still in that top of the table environment. We go down a division in League One and we've got Port Vale's Joe Gauchi. They go down 1-0 to Plymouth in a game where they looked the stronger team, but unfortunately lost 1-0. And this was a crucial game for many reasons because both teams were at the bottom, and that loss for Port Vale now has them last in 24th spot. So,
Doesn't matter for Gauci though, does it?
oh, look, he's on loan, as we know, but yeah, it's not a good position to be in. But anyway, hopefully they can bounce back. Port Vale and Joe Gauci can keep getting minutes between the sticks. At the other end of the table in League One, we've got Alex Robinson. He had to come off the bench in the 58th minute as Cardiff records a 3-1 win and remains top of the league in League One. So good outcome there for Alex Robinson. In League One, still Wigan Athletic. Both Therese Francois and Rafael Borges Rodriguez start in Wigan's 2-1 win over Wimbledon, with Rodriguez playing a full game, while Francois plays 76 minutes. So a good hit out there for the boys at Wigan. All
Francois,
right.
he must have been injured because he hasn't been in and around the team for ages, and then all of a sudden he's starting. But amazing to see both of them starting. So yeah, really good.
Yep, as we'll follow that one closely, those boys, as they entrench themselves in that Wigan lineup. All right, let's go up to Scotland and some good success here from some of the Aussies. We had Hibernian, both Aussie boys, Martin Ball and Jack Idale, start for Hibs, and they get a good 2-0 win too over Dundee, with Ball playing 71 minutes and Idale playing a full game, and a nice clean sheet there for Hibernian as they continue to progress up the top of the table. And over at Motherwell, we've got Johnny Katrumas. He starts in a full game with Stan Matalopoulos on the bench. But guess what? He comes on, Chief, in the 63rd minute, and 5 minutes into it, scores a penalty in the 68th. So wasted no time as they get three very important points over Kilmarnock 3-1. So great win there for Motherwell. Well done to the boys. Dundee United, Satsford starts and plays 64 minutes with Ryan Strain on the bench. He was brought on the 46th minute, but it's too late. They're already coming on 2-0 down, Ryan Strain, but it didn't get better in the second half either with a 3-0 loss overall to Falkirk. And that was at home too. And that was not
Bad
only
loss.
Dundee.
Bad
Yeah,
loss.
it is a bad loss because Dundee United have been so competitive this year. And I think they had a draw with Hearts the previous week. So that was very disappointing news. Livingston, big goal for Teddy Yangi. The big goal scorer against Rangers in the 18th minute. What a great performance that was. He played 72 minutes. Ryan McGowan was on the bench and he come on in the 62nd minute when it was 1-1, but they couldn't hang on. They just went down 2-1. Livingston, that was an unlucky story, but Teddy Yangi, big goal against Rangers. That'll boost his confidence. Over in St. Mirren, we had Bacchus concede a stoppage time screamer from Callum McGregor. It's all over the news, that one, to go down 1-0. St. Mirren probably had the better chances too of the teams who were out. It was very
Yeah, I watched
unlucky.
the highlights, mate. They
Oh,
were all over, all over. So they hit the post and keeper made some nice saves, and they've wasted a
oh,
few. Like they should have won that. So
yes. Oh, well,
yeah.
back to next week, back to the drawing board. But good performance other than that. Yeah, nearly got a point.
Mm.
Uh, over in Spain, Levante lose 1-0 to Valencia. Matt Ryan concedes a late goal as Levante sits second last now after going winless in their last 5 games. It's, again, going through a very shaky moment. So, but Ryan still in between the six, getting plenty of game time. All right, Chief, do you want to wrap up the midweek Champions League and Europa Cup?
Yeah, thanks, mate. There was some massive games for Matildas in action. So let's start with Arsenal with a huge win over Real Madrid, who were absolutely flying in the Women's Champions League before this one. Kyra Cooney-Cross started again in this big win for the Gunners. Steph Catley also starts, and she got the captain's armband, so that's awesome for Steph. And Caitlin Ford plays 27 minutes off the bench. So they really needed this win, Arsenal. It snapped a 3-game winless run that they were on. So, of course, they're defending champions of that Champions League title. So good for them to get back on track. And
Not a
what
bad
about
win to beat Real Madrid, mate.
Oh man, huge. Got some superstars at Real Madrid, so yeah, good to get back on track. But what about Ellie Carpenter scoring an absolute screamer in Chelsea's 1-1 draw as well? So that was against Barcelona, wasn't it? And
Yep.
yeah, she got a player of the match performance. She missed a chance late on. Oh, it was so much easier than the goal that she scored. But poor Ellie, she could have really put a name up in lights in that one. But yeah, still an outstanding game from Ellie. And you pointed out that she played in a bit more of an advanced role, mate.
Yeah, played higher up the pitch. A little bit of slight change in formation for Chelsea. And yeah, it just seemed like a more of a right midfielder right winger there, which is something, well, we all know how strong she is down that right-hand side. And yeah, but it could be another option for Chelsea. They're very strong down that right-hand side, aren't they, Chelsea? Unbelievable.
Yeah. Also in that one, Sam Kerr not named in the matchday squad in that one. Going to Women's Europa Cup, Hayley Raso's Eintracht Frankfurt beat PSV 3-1, which meant they had a 5-2 aggregate win. Hayley Raso played 16 minutes off the bench, and their next game in that competition will be against Norwegian side Norgesland. And interesting, Mopper, that Ivy Luik's BK Hacken, they've also progressed to the next round, getting past Inter Milan, and they're on a crash course to play Eintracht Frankfurt in the semi-final if they both get through. So could have a few of our Aussies going head-to-head deep into that competition.
Imagine if Ivy wins the Europa Cup at her age.
Let's
Well,
keep going. Keep
mate,
going.
that was so strong in Sweden. So yeah, they've got a quality side, haven't they?
It's
What
very
what
interesting you say that
what a
because
fairy tale.
like as I said, like they beat Inter Milan there, and we've seen some of the Italian teams not performing all that well in the European competition. So it's interesting when we think of like the Italian league being strong, mainly because of the exposure the men's competition has got. But Sweden's probably like right up there in terms of competitiveness. If
Definitely.
if players are looking for opportunities before they maybe go to a Spain or an England.
Definitely, and or America, yeah. So yeah, that'd be definitely in the top 5 leagues. Very strong league over there, and we've seen a cracking competition just wrap up not long ago in Sweden as well. All right, Chief. Maxi Ballard, your favourite Netherlands, plays 80 minutes, and unfortunately they go down to 1-0 to league leaders PSV, leaving them in the relegation trouble. That's not good news for Maxi Ballard.
But another Socceroo we mentioned before that how many didn't back up. I think it was in the Soccer Ashes series, but probably bit more experience in these traveling, but so many of them have backed up at least getting minutes off the bench, but a lot of them started as well.
Yeah, he's the Energizer Bunny. So yeah, and he didn't play too much time over there, did he? With they obviously tried Ocon Engsler in the first game as well. So yeah, no, it's good to see him back. But yeah, his team needs a bit of a uplift, don't they? They're competitive. They're right up there. So I still think they'll be okay during the year.
Well, another team down the bottom in the Netherlands, but certainly going in the right direction, is Heracles. Another good game for Aiden Hrustic, providing an assist, creating the most chances in their 4-2 win over Go Ahead Eagles. It's their third win in a row, mate, but they still remain in the relegation zone. But it is very tight there.
Mm.
They're only 5 points behind eighth, even though they sit second last.
Yeah, look, and Herneven, they're at 12th and 14 points. So one win you could jump from 18th to, right up there to 12th. And as you said, yeah, NEC and on 18 points and Twin on 17. So yeah, it's a log jam, isn't it, down there? And yeah, two get relegated in that one. So obviously NAC, Max Ballard's team, on goal difference, just outside with Heracles there, but obviously sharing FC as well on 12 points. So yes, very, very tight.
Right, jumping down a division, the Eredivisie, a shock loss for Kampioens ADO Den Haag, losing their first game of the season, going down 2-0 to Canberra, who were just behind them in the table. So Pipion played 82 minutes. Their side does remain top by 3 points with 2 games in hand still. So the thing is, they're putting a bit of a gap on third and fourth as well. So and two get automatically promoted. So looks like it's just between the two of them at the moment. So as much as they might want to go on and win it, it's all about promotion.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, 12 points, and they've got a game in hand off third. So they potentially could stretch that to
I
15.
mean,
So
that PSV's youth team as well. So they
yes.
can't even go
So
up anyway.
yep.
So yeah.
So the next one's Rhoda on 27 in fourth, and they've still got a game on hand in them as well. So that'll be 16 points then if they can win their make-up game. And they're 15 games in Den Haag, and Canberra, who is just behind them, they've got 2 games in hand on them as well. So looking very strong for promotion, those two clubs.
Yeah, and Rota JC did drop points with Josh Nisbet playing 90 minutes for them. Yeah, they remained fourth, but yeah, 10 points behind the automatic promotion spot. So disappointing for Nisbet to fall behind a little bit there. Over in Austria, Vienna, Noah Bodic gets 7 minutes off the bench in Austria Vienna's 3-2 win over BW Linz. Czech Republic, mate, this was nice to see. Sparta Prague, Garan Qual starts, plays, here's a stat for you, mate. He's played 76 minutes in their 2-1 win. Before this game, he had played a total of 73 minutes for the season. So more minutes in this one than he'd played all season to this point.
Yes, he got over there late, didn't he? So, yeah, watch him. He could be a smoky chief. I wouldn't be surprised if Popper looks at him in March. If he continues to start and get some game time, it wouldn't be a bad addition either if he can get a full season under his belt. So, watch that space. Let's see how he
Hopefully, it's a
performs, eh?
turning point for him. Like, hopefully
Oh,
that this is the start of a new
100%.
regeneration for him.
100%. Let's go over to the women's now, and now over in France, we've got Tegan Micah, who was on the bench for the Champions League games, but she's back in the sticks for Lyon's 5-0 win over Strasbourg. They maintain their perfect record, 8 from 8, with Micah making 2 saves. So good to see them sharing it around and, yeah, pushing for that number 1 spot. And this is an interesting one, Chiefs, that you reported on. Sweden's Amy Sayer and Remy Simpson leaves their club, Kristan Stards. Where do they go from here as their season's finished and now they've left their club? What do they do?
Yeah, it's interesting. We discussed it the other day, didn't we? I think, I mean, it makes a lot of sense for them to come back to the A-League women's competition for a short stint before the Asian Cup starts in March. I think it will be tricky for them to go to a European club and guarantee game time, particularly because that club is going to know that they're going to be gone for, let's hope it's the best part of a month while the Asian Cup competition is going on. So say if they move in January, but then they're going to be gone in March, I'm not sure many clubs are going to be adding them into their system, knowing that they're going to be gone for a portion. So I think for me, it's definitely a step down with respect to the A-League women's competition, but it makes sense for both of them to come back and play here. So what do you think, mate? What do you feel they should do?
Well, America's finishing up, aren't they? They're at the end of their season, and then is that correct? And then
Yeah, they just had the playoffs. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, so Asia would be almost the same. So probably the Ninja League's probably the only option. I would say it'd be too late to, or they could sign in January for
yeah.
Women's Super League. So that may be an option if they have a nice break over Chrissy and then maybe look at the Women's Premier League. I'm sure there'll be some teams looking at those girls for the run home. I think that'd be another smart move.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I think I think Sayer's fairly safe, even if she got some limited game time. Simpson's maybe little bit more on the borderline. I think she would definitely be wanting to make sure that she maintained her minutes.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting what side they go to in the Ninja A League. So yeah, maybe even City's got Champions League as well. So, and that comes up. Oh, that's after the Asia Cup though, isn't it? They reconvene back in March in the quarterfinals, don't they?
Yeah, I mean they're not. I mean I know these two have officially left Christian Studs, so they're the ones we're talking about. But there are some other players playing in Sweden as well, and it is a bit of a gap between, obviously this is their off season, but then they're not going to be want to be without football for say December, January, February before the Asian Cup. So,
Mm.
there's going to be others that are going to want some minutes too.
Is there any restrictions with the league? Can they actually just sign?
I think I saw something the other day saying that the window is open. So,
Perfect.
I know
Okay.
Emily Van Egmond did a short guest stint a few years ago. So potentially they can kind of do the same. So I guess we'll just wait and see. As I said, these two have left Christian Stud, so they're looking to go somewhere. Probably more of a longer term deal, but yeah, there's others that might be looking for a bit of a short term fix before the Asian Cup.
Absolutely. No, good stuff. And let's go home now, Chief. And Let's go to the A-League back in Australia. And what a game Friday night. How do you explain this one? It was,
Oh, mate, it was an absolute crack. Like, I was hoping it
oh,
was a cracker, and sometimes when you think it's gonna be a really good game, it ends up being a fizzer. But this one absolutely lived up to expectations.
the football was great. The controversy was unbelievable. The decisions
Oh,
were a
I know
bit
you've got some
strange.
strong opinions on the on some of the
Oh, no.
decisions, but
Well, just common sense, but no, it was crackers. I thought the Adelaide coach was nearly going to run on the pitch at one stage. It was they were fuming, weren't they? And yeah, I must say though, Aurelio, it was nice to see. He went over. I don't know who they were, but some fans over in Adelaide, and he shook their hands and he spoke to them. I thought they're well respected over there, Aurelio Vidmar. So and handled himself very well in what could have been a very spicy contest, but I thought he was very professional in the way the match unfolded with his side.
I think he's so loved over there, even when he comes as the opposition coach. So yeah,
Yeah,
he's a bit of a South Australian legend, isn't he? Well, the whole
absolutely.
Vidmar family are. But
All right.
yeah. All right,
Chief,
let's
I'll
go
let
through.
you break it down. Here we go.
Go through the game, mate. All right. So after a decent start, Melbourne City, Adelaide pounced on a mistake from Zane Schreiber, who we were actually remarking had a strong start, but we put the mocker on him, mate. And yeah, so and Ethan Alagich opened the scoring. Nice finish there from him. And then Luki Ivanovic, not long after, got in on the action 3 minutes later, showing some nice feet. Not the best first touch, but got his feet in a position and fired home past Patrick Beach. So that's 3-3 now for Jovanovic and 2 assists in 2 games as well. So he's on a real hot streak of form. And then this was the controversy. So Dylan Prius was sent off for, which I can only assume was kicking out in the 36th minute. I think it was Andreas Kuhn, and he kicked. So bit of deliberation. Referee's gone over to the VAR monitor, but stuck with his decision. And then what about after the VAR check? Takeshi Kanamori scored an absolute
Oh, well,
screamer.
wow. What a
Oh,
yeah. It
yeah, he
was
pulled,
yeah. It was unbelievable, wasn't it?
yeah.
I thought it, and at the timing of it, yeah. At the
Oh,
timing of it, it was just incredible.
yeah, as if the Adelaide fans weren't annoyed enough. That one went in the top corner. Melbourne City dominated possession in the second half, but they failed to get a shot on target despite their one-man advantage. And what about Adelaide? They're youngsters. So they were clinical. Panache Medania, he scored that great goal that got ruled out for a bit of a trip. Probably a bit harsh, I would say, that one. And then Ryan White popped up in the box, beat a couple of defenders and scored at the near post. And then Jay Barnett scored late to record the 4-1 win for Adelaide, and Cooper's was absolutely bouncing 3 from 3 at home for Adelaide. I just want to mention on Jay Barnett's goal because I didn't realise watching live, but he chased down a cross or a clearance, kept it in play, played it through the middle. I think it was White again that ran through, hit the post, and then he followed up with a shot. So incredible effort from Barnett to follow that all the way through.
Oh, the resilience from Adelaide was unbelievable, and the energy that they've got, oh, was incredible, wasn't it? The backs against the wall, everything felt and seemed like everything was going against them, but they just continue to show up and geez, they were still that exciting transition football with one player down. Unbelievable and fantastic job. And at home, they're passionate supporters and yeah, City were a bit shell shocked, weren't they? That I thought they would have gone to half time after that goal and probably thought they were just going to make it happen in the second half, but they just lacked a little bit composure, probably overplayed a little bit. Probably need to be a little bit more direct and instead of going sideways. But no, full credit to Adelaide. They are just doing a fantastic job. They love the Friday nights, don't they, Adelaide? And a massive 4-1 win against 10 Men City, who honestly has probably been one of the informed teams in Australian football for a long time.
Yeah, how much do you think? Obviously, Patrick Beach backed up for Socceroos, but Kai Truan missed. How big a miss do you think he was in their midfield?
Oh, absolutely massive. Yeah. Like they're just the structure and the leadership, you know, they were exposed, weren't they? And, just needed that level headedness, whether it was at the back or in the midfield there. And that they would just gets him around the park, doesn't he? And I think that's why Aurelio really likes him up the six. He just dictates a bit of tempo and Yeah, they just absolutely missed him, all right. But he'll be back next week, and they'll be welcoming him back with open arms.
One of those ones where his value just goes up for him not being there.
Oh, absolutely. Like, we've seen how much heavily they've been rotating their squad, but the only one that have been starting every week's pretty much been Truan, hasn't it? So we all know how quality he is. So looking forward to watching his journey and where he goes from there.
All right, mate, let's go to the early kickoff on Saturday. It was Wellington going down 1-0 to Macarthur. So the Wellington High Line was back, mate. Tell you what, it's probably not that exciting for the Wellington fans all the time, but for the neutral, it's very fun to watch Wellington with this High Line. Makes for an exciting game, that's for sure. Yeah, so it was the Macarthur side looking to get their season going after a slow start. The Bulls dominated the game, Bratton pulling the strings in midfield, and I thought their overlapping fullbacks in Harry Politides and Callum Talbot were really good, providing a constant threat out wide. Wellington failed to get a shot on target in the first half, so very disappointing from the home side as both teams went into halftime 0-0. Wellington dominated possession in the second half, but couldn't convert it into anything meaningful. MacArthur had a great chance to open the scoring. Not sure if you saw this one, mate, but Samir Gazan was clean through. He was the Wellington, and we'll talk about a high line. They were 5 meters inside their attacking half. I'm sure they know the rules that they can be onside when they're in their own half. But anyway, they on this occasion, Gazan was on the halfway line, and Wellington defensive line were in front of him, but clean through on goal, but couldn't get it past the keeper. And then in the 83rd minute, Harry Sawyer converted a low cross from Harry Politides to win the game. So big Harry, not one on the head this time, but used his feet and got it and bundled it home. So important win for MacArthur, who have been a bit hot and cold to start the season, but Wellington would definitely be disappointed that they didn't get more out of this one.
Yep, and that's a great away win. And Macarthur's very difficult to break down too, and they're starting to hit some form there. Macarthur, they've been, like you said, a bit heckle and jive, but yeah, they get their important 3 points, and that'll give them a lot of confidence. And yes, Wellington continues to excite the neutrals and all fans as they unfortunately just can't get that next transition in the final third right, but it'll come. They're a lot more competitive and doing a lot better than what I would have thought this year. So yeah, keep up the good work. It was a good solid hit out for both teams.
One thing I know we're having a bit of fun about the high line, but I have to say when it works, it works well. You can see that they're pressing and they're closing down the space. So I mean, you see what Italiano is trying to do. It's just that sometimes it just gets picked apart a bit too easily. But that's just the pros and the cons, I suppose, that he's playing with at the moment. Let's go to the next game on Saturday. The Wanderers picked up a very important win, beating the Mariners 3-2. An incredible start to this one. Bojidar Kraev scored in the first minute before Lucas Moragas equalised for the Mariners after just 9 minutes, and then Costa Barbarouses put the Wanderers back in front with a very tidy finish with the outside of the foot in the 11th minute. So 2-1 we were, mate, after only 11 minutes. So goals flying in everywhere. Both teams converted penalties before halftime in an absolutely pulsating first half, which ended 3-2. So no shortage of goals for the fans to see in the first half. Mariners put a heap of pressure on them, the Wanderers, in the second half, but they're able to hold out. Nathan Paul hit an absolute rocket from distance that was brilliantly saved by Lawrence Thomas in second half stoppage time. So he could have rescued a point there for the Mariners if it wasn't for Lawrence Thomas. But what about this, mate? Wanderers scored more goals in the first 23 minutes of this game than they'd scored in their previous 4 matches. We were worried about their goal scoring. I'm still worried about their goal scoring, to be honest. But they were able to get a few past the Mariners on this occasion.
Oh, they were desperate, weren't they? They needed it big time. And as you said previously, the amount of players they lost last year, they lost all their top goal scorers, and it was always going to be difficult for them. But it was good to see them get off to a good start, and the fans would have absolutely wanted and needed those 3 points. And they come home and got off to a great start. So well done to the Wanderers. They're off and running, but again, credit to the Mariners. You know, after the season start that they've had, they still put fear through teams, don't they? They really put it through in lots of energy, and they continue to stand up and another great performance. You would have thought they could have easily just fallen off this, but in the second half they just put in another great effort. So it just goes to show how close this competition really is.
Oh yeah, anyone can beat anyone on their day for sure, which we'll see a little bit later. But Sydney FC was the last game on Saturday in the Big Blue. Unfortunately, it was such torrential rain out there at Leichhardt Over, but a really good crowd turned up. Still over 10,000. So could only imagine what it could have been if the conditions were a bit better. And I suppose that's the hard part when you play in suburban grounds. That it's just so exposed to the weather and particularly that ground as well, because only the small grandstand on the western side. But it was a game that was some very wasteful finishing from both sides in the first half, but it was Joe Lolly who showed them how it's done. We ran onto a well-weighted pass from Joel King in the 58th minute and coolly slotted into the corner, and then he was at it again 12 minutes later. Very nice goal, this one. Picked the ball up deep in his own half, drove forward, turned Roderick Miranda inside out, and found the back of the net. So at least some Englishmen in Australia performed over the weekend, mate.
Oh, that's very harsh, Chief. They'll be feeling sore and sorry for themselves, the English fans, in a lot of ways. But wow, straight to the daggers there, Chief. But Joe Lolly, is he not the best player in the A League? He just showed it. He was a class above, wasn't he? He
remember all the
single-handedly.
turmoil in the off season, mate. Like,
Oh, yep. Wanted to go to Perth and
oh,
Sydney praising that they held on to him. And I'll tell you what, Perth would be spewing because, oh, geez, don't they need a player like that? But no,
yeah,
he's just honestly on another level in this league and would have to be in the if not the top player in the A League and probably leading on the medal race too for the Player of the Year.
yeah, he's right up there, and yeah, he's just classy, isn't he? And I think as much as Sydney FC have got some great young talent, I think they've mixed it pretty well. They've got some experience in some important areas, but Joe Lolly's still making them tick. But they don't want to be too over reliant on him either, because if he does go down with an injury or drops his form, it could be some trouble for him. But they'll take it for the moment, that's for sure. Let's just round out the game. Alex Grant scored the final goal in this one with a nice header off a corner. So that's now 4 wins in a row for the Sky Blues. I'm going very, very well ahead of the Sydney Derby next weekend. So Ocon and Yuli, I think, starting to form a nice combination in midfield. The new import's still not firing. Kispe missed a sitter in the second half. Campuzano still not going all that well. Tisserands are going pretty well at the back, I have to say. But yeah, if those new imports start to get their act together, geez, look out the rest of the league. Sydney FC might be onto something this season. Mate, for Melbourne Victory, just a 1 win this season over Perth so far. Really, really lacking a striker. What about this for a stat? They were the 4th most shots on target, but the 2nd worst conversion of goals from shots on target at 5.1%. I saw that Jason Davidson had the most shots for them last night. So that just can't happen. Like, absolutely can't happen.
I don't know. I think they don't know what the right balance is for that squad. I think they've got the right players. I just don't know where they fit them in and to find that right combinations. I think they're really struggling with that, and whether Giraldi or Grimaldi and Amato, like where do they fit in? And I don't know. Like you said with the striker, it's not performing. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe they need to try a false 9 or something. But
Well,
yeah, I just
Jing Reese came in last night and started. I think there was a stat saying he scored 4 goals in 40 or 50 something games last night. So,
yeah,
and
not good enough.
the comment was that he's not prolific, but he's going to put himself about, which he probably did. But at the moment, they need a clinical finisher, not someone that's just going to put themselves about. So Burgos came on late, but couldn't affect the game either. So my question for you, mate, is Mitch Duke an option now that he's finished up in Japan for a short stint?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, absolutely. Well, they'll go after him. They've got to go after him, don't they? Like, it's definitely a problem area. They got the tens. They've got like the behind. They got that midfield right. They just can't find that right balance. And I still there's a lot of quality still in Victory, and maybe this is the consequence of getting this squad together late, because they did make a very late run of a lot of players, and maybe that continuity has really impacted their first five games.
Yeah, we were worried about them at a point, but they ended up signing pretty well. But as you said, probably the next step is getting them all to gel in together. Like even Louis Dorigo was back on the bench last night, came off the bench. So again, another one of those ones in an attacking position. It's like, where do you put him? What do you do with him? How do you find that balance? You know, you got obviously Marta playing in the 10, but then you got Denny Genre who also wants to play in the 10 as well. So it's like, yeah, you got too many players for the one position
Well, just
and not a
probably
striker.
needs to be yeah, probably. Well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe a false nine and build those tens around.
Yeah,
Maybe
maybe.
that's. I think they just have to tactically change it up. Every time they set up, I look at their midfield, and I've seen it against City. In transition defensively, there is too much space in between the lines. You see it in every game with Melbourne Victory, and they just need to tighten it up. And there's just no pressure going back, and they're just too easy to play through. So I think if they get that formation right, I think they'll start to click. But again, they've got to fix that defensive transition, and I reckon just play two tens and a false nine and see how it goes, because I reckon if they just get their best players a bit more direct, they can play good football. But again, they just need to bring Davidson into those wider areas from the back. I think would be much more better than trying to play Grimaldi wide left and vice versa. It's just not his game, and he just needs to be more direct in behind the 9 or 2 tens there. But anyway, that's only my opinion, and we'll have to watch this space whether Duke comes back into who. But yeah, they'll definitely be looking for someone. But I still think there's a lot of depth there. But just if they find their balance, they'll be. It's such a tight league, and they haven't. That would probably be the hardest fortnight for them, isn't it? Losing the City and then just getting hammered by Sydney, and yeah, they've got to turn it around quick, don't they?
Doesn't get any easier for them either, mate. They're going away to Brisbane next week. So that will be a very, very tough challenge for a team who has struggled to score against that Brisbane defence. So good luck, Melbourne Victory. I hope for their fans that they can start to turn the season around, but potentially they might have to wait till January to bring in a striker if they're not going
They've
to look.
been pretty inconsistent over the last few years, though, haven't they? Like up and down, a bit like there's been no consistency. Not like their brothers and sisters across the road, City. The City's just been consistent as, and Victory's either peaked or gone down. It just doesn't can't seem to find the right balance. What they're trying to do. But anyway, we'll watch this space and we'll talk about the team they're playing next week, Auckland versus Brisbane. What a intense and good pickup result this was for Brisbane. This was their true test, wasn't it? Whether they could go away. They went away to Wellington last time and played really well, but just lost. But this time they get a point. And the first half, the two combative teams, Lachlan Brook scores a rocket from a free kick that he won. Then both
I was
Brisbane
wondering when your
strikers.
golden boot when it was actually going to score a goal. I didn't get
Well,
one.
if you look at Joe, he's playing a pretty similar position to what Lockie Brook was there, but he wasn't getting on the goals. But bang, straight on, he's off the mark, and let him loose now.
Mate, it
Hopefully,
was
I haven't
absolute
put.
screamer of a free kick too.
Yeah, well,
Terrible.
he's class, isn't he? Both Brisbane strikers, Justin Vidic and Michael Ruiz, wasted chances to score. Brisbane were very dominant in the remaining stages of the first half. They had 62% possession, 13 shots to 3. And they got there all with a beautiful through ball. Michael Ruiz found Vidic, who finished well. And Sam Cosgrove in the thick of the action, and it was 1-1 at half time.
Plenty of
So
calls for Cosgrove to be sent off during that first half, mate. He was all arms and elbows and into anyone. So I tell you what, I know that one of our listeners thought that Milorad Stojic might get the most red cards this year, but I actually don't think that's going to be the case. I think he just winds players up, and he's so smart. He's going to get more players sent off than he gets sent off.
yeah,
He's smart. He's a smart player. He's gets under the skin of these players and just rolls them up. Good to see.
he told you earlier in the year to be one of the best.
Mm.
An equally competitive second half was slightly shaded by Auckland, but neither could find a winner. Auckland were missing several key players, so not a bad result, but it means Sydney FC jumped them and are top ahead of Auckland in second with raw fifth. So very exciting news there, and I think that's a really good result for Brisbane. That was a really good test, and just quickly note too, Chief, Sydney returned to the Allens on the 18th of January. they'll be their first home game back with the new drainage too. I just wanted to pop that in. Perth beat Newcastle 2-1. Chief, you're tipping a lot of goals, but some reward for Perth. They've finally won, and they've actually put Newcastle in last place. We wouldn't have thought that, the Hahn Cup champions. They were on fire beating Victory only a few weeks ago, but seem to have lost their way in the last few weeks, and maybe a bit of lack of confidence, a few injuries, and maybe that young side isn't handling it that well. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, just I was going to ask you, is the way that Victory are going, does the Victory win not look so good now? I know they put them to the sword, but with the way Victory are going, maybe that was a bit of a, I don't know, misconception of how the Jets are going because yeah, since that game they've really fallen away and this was a very disappointing result for them, particularly at home.
Yeah, it's more disappointing that it's at home, isn't it? You would have thought that they would have been up for it, obviously getting beaten their last couple of games convincingly. But no, Perth, they finally get the monkey off their back and they're finally on the board. So a lot to take back there for Perth. They've shown bits and pieces, but obviously with the turmoil that they've had, they've struggled for a bit of consistency. But maybe this is a stepping stone for Perth, and yeah, that's a great result. But Newcastle, where do you go from here? Last one in four, one win, four losses out of five, and yeah, there'll be a bit of soul searching there, and a really good test for Mark there, the head coach there at Newcastle. It's he's going to try to find some answers now after a great pre-season.
Yeah, your guy Xavier Bertoncello scored the first goal for the Jets before Tom Lawrence got his first goal for Perth Glory. It'd be good if he can actually hit some form for Perth Glory. That would be a very positive sign for them. And then it was Pennington who scored the winner for Perth Glory. So nice to see Nicholas Pennington close it out. And I'm sure for Perth Glory fans, what a way to round out the weekend for them. It's been a long time, and yeah, they've suffered a lot, and they're still going through a fair bit. But nice for them to get a win.
Yeah, definitely well deserved. Yeah, they needed something, didn't they?
Let's just have a look next week, mate, quickly because there's some big fixtures coming up in the A League, probably highlighted by the Sydney Derby. So the Wanderers coming off obviously that win against the Mariners, playing the high flying Sydney FC. So yeah, some big clashes. Obviously, we mentioned Brisbane hosting Melbourne Victory. That one's on Friday night as well. So how do you think that one's going to go, the Sydney Derby? You'd expect Sydney FC, the way they're playing, to get the job done over the Wanderers, but it's going to be no doubt a packed out stadium out there for Western Sydney. So, and derbies, you kind of throw form out the window, don't you?
Oh, definitely. But I still got a lot of question marks over Western Sydney's attack. I love their midfield though, and they're very combative. Could cause some trouble in there for the young Sydney team. But yeah, Sydney are red hot form and playing really well. But like you said, derby's a derby. You get emotions involved, and yeah, it could be anything. But yeah, it could be. Hopefully, we'll see a lot of goals. The big thing I want to see that stadium packed out and for what it deserves to be, and get back to those glory days where they fill it right up. And Sydney FC, no excuses. Get out there with the away fans. They're top of the league, and Western Sydney want it as well. They would like nothing better than getting a result over Sydney FC and keeping this league condensed and to jump up themselves to be around that mark as well. So. Oh, what I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be a 2-2 draw, mate. I think no one's going to get the win here. I think Western Sydney is still pretty hard to break down, but if they can get the first goal, I give them a chance. But if Sydney FC score first, I'd be a bit worried. But yeah, because last time Western Sydney were down, they struggled to seem to come back. But when they seem to get the lead, they seem to be a little bit more be able to control that midfield tempo, which helps their game style.
Yeah, let's hope a massive crowd out there at Western Sydney Stadium, and yeah, minimum 30,000. I think they should be aiming for, and an incredible atmosphere. So let's hope we see it on Saturday night next week.
Yep. And what are you looking forward to most in the A League apart from the derby?
Well, I think probably that Brisbane Melbourne Victory game. I think watching Brisbane today against Auckland, I think they've probably incorrectly being tagged as this kind of really physical team because they can play some really nice football as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing if they can, take a big scalp in, or traditionally a big scalp in Melbourne Victory, and how Melbourne Victory respond, because I'll tell you what, if they lose that one, there's going to be some real question marks over how they're going in the season. And I think you start to look at, I mean, you can reinforce in January, but is that going to be too late by the time we get to that point?
Yeah, look, I'm still confident that Melbourne Victory will find their mojo. But yeah, yeah, Valkanis will have the wall up, and he'll have those Brisbane fans pumped up for a big game. I'm worried about Newcastle travelling to Auckland. I think this is a real test for where this club is at. So I'll be watching on very closely to see Newcastle Jets' response, because they just don't seem to be firing on all levels at the moment.
Can I throw one more fixture at you, mate? Wellington Phoenix versus Adelaide United. the prolific the prolific goal scoring Adelaide United versus the highline Wellington Phoenix.
Well,
That one.
Jovanovic is going to have a lot of fun, isn't he? There's Twinkle Toes. He'll be taking advantage of every bit of space. Don't Adelaide love when teams go high on them? We've seen that against City. They just tore them to shreds. So, well, watch out. Watch out this game. This could another one that could have lots of goals in it. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Unfortunately, Perez is likely going to be suspended, but he's the type that would love to run in behind. But it should be a very exciting game for the neutral anyway.
He might. He
Right.
might get off. He might get off.
He might. He might.
We'll see what happens.
All right, mate. Australian Championship time. Let's start Friday night. What a game this one was. Marconi beating West Apia 8-7 on penalties after the game finished 1-1. So Marconi actually looked to be progressing in normal time when Matiak Buziak gave them the lead, but 16-year-old Oscar Gonzalez scored a header with the last touch in normal time. Tell you what, mate, Marconi had 2 or 3 good chances to put the game to bed just before Gonzalez scored as well. So, yeah, very, very good persistence from West Apia to send the game into extra time. Both teams had some chances to win it in extra time, but the game went to penalties, and the penalties just went on and on and on and on. Marconi had a player sent off in extra time as well. So then you had 10 penalty takers. James Hilton was the hero in the shootout, saving 3 penalties, including one from his direct opponent. So it was a good sequence of events there, because Kalach took the penalty for West Apia. Hilton saved it, and then the keepers flipped around, and then Hilton took the penalty against Kalach, scored the winner, shirt off, running over to the Marconi fans. Very, very good scenes out there at Leichhardt Oval. So yeah, what an incredible game this one was.
Oh, look, high stakes football, wasn't it? And both of these clubs have put a lot of energy and money into this Australian Championship and invest very heavily in their football teams. But I think West Apia, look, full credit. I thought they were one of the teams that did a lot off the pitch as well as what they did on it. I think they should hold themselves high. I think they're moving in a great direction, and they'll be disappointed. But I think their off field's probably, out of all the Australian Championship teams, I reckon they're in a very healthy position. And showed some real big qualities off the pitch and on the pitch too. They performed consistently throughout the Australian Championship. But yeah, credit to Marconi, and they put that last week against the Wolves behind them. And Chief, I just want to say one thing: who was Chief's tip for the Australian Championship at the start of the Australian Championship?
Yeah, Marconi was my tip at the start. So through the semi-finals. So getting there, mate, getting there.
What a great side of the pitch to the draw that they found themselves on too. They're
Well,
definitely on the best side, I reckon.
Well, you say that, but let's go to the next game. Morton City Excelsior beating Avondale 3-1. This one was all about the Japanese players. Seita Murai scored a brace, his 4th and 5th of the Australian Championship so far, and his fellow countryman Keitatsu Kajima opened the scoring for the NPL Queensland Premiers, with those 3 goals coming in the space of 8 minutes in the second half. So just before the goals, Avondale's Brandon Lundy was sent off for denying a goal scoring opportunity, but Morton City were dominating before then. And then Avondale got a late consolation goal, but it's going to be Morton City playing Marconi in the semi-finals. Morton City, I know that Avondale were your pick for the winners, and they were probably a lot of people's favourites, mate, to go through, particularly on this side of the draw. But Morton City played some fantastic football, and particularly those Japanese guys, they were incredible on the day. So I don't think it's going to be as straightforward as some people might think for Marconi. I think Morton City's going to give him a real hot run.
Who's at home?
I think, good point, mate. Let's have a look. Looks like it's going to be Marconi.
Oh, wow. Okay. Cracker.
Yeah, absolutely,
Okay.
mate. So yeah, let's hope they get a decent crowd out there, Marconi. But Morton City travelling again. But how do you think this one might go, mate?
Yeah. This could be anything, but Marconi home ground advantage would have to sneak over Morton City. I definitely hear you with the way their football Morton City played, and that's a massive scalp to beat Avondale. So yeah, they're right up there, and congratulations to the team from Brizzy and out northern suburbs of Brisbane. There, they've done a fantastic job, and yeah, hopefully a good crowd. Well, Marconi's very heavily supported out there, so should be an absolute cracker, and I think they'll just get home 2-1 next week to hopefully for their fans make their way into the first final of the Australian Championship.
2-1 Marconi, you're going?
Yes, my friend.
I'm going to go 2-2 and Marconi to win in a penalty shootout.
Oh, they love. Well, you watch the penalty shoot. They love it, and yeah. Well, good luck to both teams. What an exciting debut from both of them, and they're in the semi-finals. And let's move over to the other side, Chief. And there's some powerhouse football teams from Victoria in this one. Heidelberg thrash Metro Stars 6-1. Metro Stars stunned Heidelberg in scoring in just the second minute through Tommy Visser, but Heidelberg hit back with 2 goals before the 10-minute mark through Jay McGowan and Joel Brach, and Marcus Hummett added a third just before the break. It was more of the same in the second half, with Brach and Hummett both completing their doubles, and Lesios rounded out the scoring to complete a massive 6-1 win. What a statement from Heidelberg, Chief.
Yeah, this one was unfortunately for Metro Stars. Good for them to open the scoring, but yeah, Heidelberg's class just shone through too much, unfortunately, for Metro Stars. But full credit to Metro Stars, the NPL South Australia premiers, for getting through to this stage of the competition and representing their club and of course South Australia. So, but yeah, the Australia Cup finalists just way too good on this occasion.
And over in the other game of the draw, this one, South Melbourne beat Northwestern Spirit 2-0. A dominant display from South Melbourne. They have been the red-hot form in the Australian Championship. They were too good for the New South Wales Premiers, and South early on spurned some early chances, but opened the scoring. Max McCullough, a long throw, found Oliver Laval at the far post as he headed home. And the second half, McCullough scored a goal of his own, cutting in from the right with his left foot. Shot hitting the inside of the near post and going in. So it will be a all-conquering Victorian semi-final with South Melbourne taking on Heidelberg. What a game this is going to be. Wow.
That long throw-in from Mikula is absolutely incredible. That first goal, the ball went past the far post. It went that long. I'm not sure if there was some wind behind him, but it's roary to lap areas, mate. For this throw-in, it's incredible.
Is
Such
this
a weapon.
Oh, absolutely. Is where's this one? It has to be at South Melbourne, surely.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, so we've seen Heidelberg play the final there of the Hahn Cup, and yeah, that'll be a huge crowd out there. Yeah, they'll be
it
massive.
should be. It should be. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. This will be an absolute cracking game. This will be one for the ages, I think, and both clubs with massive ambitions.
All right, mate. Who are you tipping?
Oh, you know what? I, I okay. I can't go past the Burgers. I can't go past them. They're too strong, but I think this one's going to penalties. I think this is going extra time penalties. This nothing's going to stop these two. So 1-1 with Heidelberg winning in penalties, my friend. What about yourself?
Ooh, Okay, I'm going to go South Melbourne. As you said, I think they've been the more dominant or the most dominant team in this competition so far. And I think with that home crowd advantage will be enough to get them across the line. I'm going to go with a 3-2 extra time win. So 2 all into extra time, 3-2 winner for South Melbourne. So, but it should be a absolutely cracking game.
Oh, absolutely. This will be the game in the Australian Championship and massive crowd down there. This could be a game of ages. So we wish both teams very well. And we want to thank Northwestern Spirit and Metro Stars for their performance in the Australian Championship. Bowing out, but showing very good for their clubs and community.
All right, mate. The A-League women, only 4 games on this weekend with Melbourne City having their games. Congratulations to them. They've qualified for the next stage of the Asian Women's Champions League in the quarterfinals, and they'll get to host as well. So big achievement for them. Let's just go through the scores, mate. Newcastle Jets picked up a 1-0 win over the Western Sydney Wanderers. Canberra United got their first win of the season, thumping Perth Glory 3-0. Wellington Phoenix, they also got their first win. There's some terrible news during the week. 2 of their players gone down with season-ending knee injuries. So incredible achievement from Wellington Phoenix to rally and to get that win over Melbourne Victory today. So well done to them. And then Sydney FC, they managed to get a 1-0 win over the Central Coast Mariners, which means that Sydney FC top of the league in both the men's and the women's. So good weekend if you're a Sydney FC fan.
Yep, absolutely. Melbourne City's got some games to catch up, so we'll see once they get
Yeah,
level on.
they're sitting there mid-table, and you can just see those games in hand. You can see them rocketing up the table, can't you?
Hey, I just want to say a small reminder that I tipped Sydney FC Chief in the women to win this league, and you thought that Melbourne City would be an absolute powerhouse, which they are, and we could be in for a very exciting run to the title this year for the women's league. And Melbourne Victory were looking really good, weren't they? Until Wellington got the points. So yeah, some good competition there in the women's league. So exciting times.
Absolutely, mate. All right, let's go to our team of the week, mate. In goals, how could we go past James Hilton for his heroics for Marconi against West Apia in that penalty shootout? Ellie Carpenter gets the nod at right fullback for her starring role for Chelsea. Lewis Miller's going to play inside her for his goal in Blackburn's big win. Alex Grant for his goal against Melbourne Victory for Sydney FC was also very strong at the back as well. Thought Harry Pelotidis was great for MacArthur against Wellington over the weekend. Kyra Cooney Cross for her consistency with Arsenal. That's just amazing to see for the Matildas midfielder. Ethan Allegich also plays in the midfield. He was really good for Adelaide on Friday night. Marcus Humbert from Heidelberg with his double in their big 6-1 win. Max Mikola, the rocket of a long throw for South Melbourne for his goal and assist. Luki Ivanovic scoring for fun at the moment for Adelaide United. And then, of course, Mitch Duke for his assist in Makita Zelvia's Emperor's Cup win. And 2 questions for you, mate. Are you okay with that team of the week? And who is Mopper's super sub?
I cannot go past West Apia's now boasts the youngest player and the youngest goal scorer in the Australian Championship over to Oscar Gonzalez, who would have had the best day at school this week, telling his mates that he scored. He was the youngest scorer in the Australian Championship. So well done to Oscar. It's a fantastic performance. And how can we go past the coach of the team of the week, the Chinese Super League champion coach, and the double himself, Kevin Muscat?
Absolutely, mate. Well said. Yeah, well done to all those players for making our team of the week. We'll pop that up on socials during the week. Make sure, as always, you tell us all the ones we got wrong. What about some of these overnight games, mate? These would have been played by the time people listen to this, but there's some huge games going on. So Viking to start with, D'Agostino and Stenson's up there. They need a win to go top in Norway because Bodo Glimt has overtaken them temporarily. So they need a win heading into the final round next weekend. Hearts, obviously, Cammy Devlin at Hearts, they've got a chance to extend their lead at the top in Scotland. Rapid Vienna also have the chance to go top in Austria, and Aidan O'Neill continues in the MLS playoffs. So some absolutely huge games for our Aussies overnight into tomorrow.
Yeah, I know Neil's got Philadelphia, the Eastern Conference league leaders over there in the table, so that'll be a massive game. That'll be a tough contest, and yeah, Rapid Vienna, chance to go top in Austria. Wow, that's pretty impressive. The Aussie boys over there. Bit nervous about Hearts. I think Aberdeen, that'll be exciting. They should win, but yeah, just hit a little bit of last couple of draws there. So it'd be great to see him get back on the winning streak, because I still think Celtic and Rangers are still so vulnerable. And yeah, good luck to the boys. Is D'Agostino fit? Is he back, or is he might be injured
Oh,
for
good
this game?
question. Good
Yeah,
question.
so we'll have to wait for the team news tonight, and we'll wait. Well, whether he's fit or not, we wish Viking all the best to
Well,
get over
Stenson's
Bodø
is
Glimt.
there. Stenson's is there as well, been playing it there. So yeah, for both the boys, let's hope they can take out the title.
Yes, and we also too have later in the week we have the Matildas back home. So for all the girls out there and fans of the Matildas, they'll be on Friday night against New Zealand. So yeah, so always good to have the Matildas back home. And we also got the Joeys playing tomorrow as well for the qualifiers in Asia. So lots happening on the international and European leagues.
Yeah, and Charlie Rule into the Matilda squad for
Oh,
Charlie Grant.
super. Love it. I feel sorry for Charlie Grant and my commiserations, and I hope she recovers well. Looks like a very nasty injury, but yeah, been following Charlie Rule. I've been waiting for the moment that she gets back in this Matilda's camp. Sorry. So super. She's had a super performance in for Brighton this year. So all the best for Charlie Rule. I think Joe's going to unlock a really good defender there, Chief, and I reckon she can push her claims. I reckon she's good enough to start for the Matildas. That's how far I'm going to go for Charlie Rule.
Very interesting, mate. All right, mate, that's just about going to do us for this week. Thanks everyone for listening. Don't forget to give us a rating or a review. It really helps for us to all of our Australian football fans. So if you can take a couple of seconds to do that, we'd really appreciate it. But in the meantime, enjoy your football. We'll be back same time next week. Thanks, Mappa.
Thank you. Have a good week, everyone. Enjoy your football.